Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode number 109 of the Whitey and Will Sports Show. Today is Sunday, June 2nd, 2024, which means that earlier today, St.
Yeah.
Anthony got finished winning the Class 2A state baseball championship in an interesting rain affected title game. They didn't get started on time. Let's just say it. It was a late start. St. Anthony was one of two Effingham County teams that ended up making it to the state championship game for baseball. They won the 2A championship over Maroa Forsyth. Altamont dropped a 6-2 game to in the championship game of the 1A state title game to Ottawa Marquette. Couple of very good teams that our Effingham County teams ran into, but a lot to be proud of from the area. And of course, I was able to be there, broadcast their semifinal and championship games, as well as their super sectionals earlier this week. Altamont, in particular, won a couple of really interesting and walk off finishes to get to the position of being in the state championship game. But it was a neat weekend for the area because the Effingham County and the National Trail Conference had a very real chance of bringing home two state championship trophies because St. Anthony obviously got bumped up to 2A this year, and it didn't quite work out, but pretty good showing all told, Mike. We've had really good baseball in this area for a long time, and that showed out once again this weekend.
Yeah, I did. And I um, listened to both your broadcasts Friday and then listened to them yesterday. Now, the championship game, I will say, I was in bed. And I think it was 5-0.
Yeah.
And I may have dozed off. And then I heard it was 5-2. And I thought, shit, I got to stay awake because when I fall asleep, in it and he's giving up runs. And then I may have woke up again and it was 8-4. Does that sound right? 8-5?
Well, it got to 8-2 actually, and then
8-2. And I heard that.
and then it got to 8-4, and then it finished up 8-5.
Yeah.
So
And then I heard the final strikeout.
yeah,
And
so let me set the stage for people a little bit. They probably know, but just in case they don't, the forecast in Peoria all along was that Friday was going to be a great day for the semifinals. And then Saturday was not looking so hot, and they weren't sure what they were going to do, but they were just going to get up Saturday morning, see how the radar looked, and go
because I
from.
saw at one time, I think something posted by the IHSA said they were, or someone had posted that the IHSA was considering just playing championship games on Saturday.
Sure, that was. I mean, I think all considerations were on the table, but you woke up
Okay.
Saturday morning and it really didn't look. It rained a little bit. I don't know, 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning, but not a downpour. And if you looked at what was moving in, it just felt like it was going to be fine.
Yeah, it rained here all day, by the way. Just
Yeah, I heard that because, well, my son was supposed to play a baseball tournament in Newton this weekend, and that ended up being a complete wash Saturday
yeah.
and Sunday because they just didn't feel like they could get fields going and ready today. But yeah, it looked good enough that they were just like, you know what, we're just gonna play it. We're gonna whatever rain we do get, it's not going to be heavy enough to keep us off the field, and so we're just gonna go. And it ran perfectly on schedule right up until they had the field prepped for the 2A championship game. So
Yeah, so you were about 6:30, wasn't it?
yeah, I mean, even like they had lined the field and dragged it. They had wet it down before that game because there was no reason to believe that we were going to get any heavy rain. And the teams were out there getting loose and getting ready to take infield. And all of a sudden, it went from like intermittent showers that were kind of coming and going throughout that last half hour to just like a downpour. It rained, I won't say downpour, but rained hard, rained steadily. And you kind of quickly you look out on the field and start to see it. You start to see pooling happening pretty quick, and you realize this is going to be a problem. And then it keeps going, and they managed to get the mound covered. They managed to get home plate covered, but by the time they tried to roll out the big tarp, they realized one that they didn't have enough people to do it. They didn't have enough people on hand to make it happen. And two, it was too late anyway. Like there was so much had come down that it wasn't
Right.
gonna. So it stops raining. They assess the situation. They say, hey, look, we're not going to get started on time, obviously. I can't remember when it was. It was probably a little before 8 o'clock when we finally started getting word. 10 o'clock first pitch is what we're shooting for. So, and that's what it ended up being about
Yeah,
10:07.
10:07, 10:08. So what did you and Matt do? Did you guys just chill out there? Did you,
We chilled at
go to
Chili's, as a
Paradise,
matter
play
of
a
fact.
little blackjack? What'd you do?
We went and got a little supper because we had kind of we had kind of thought, well, we would just eat something at the ballpark. Uh, they had some food there, and
Mhm.
it's not fantastic there or anything, and it's
It's okay.
certainly economical. But we thought we'd eat something instead. With the extra time, we went and sat down and ate. Went and got a bite to eat. Just found a Chili's, as a matter of fact.
You
Not far.
never went to Hoops. Very disappointed in you two.
We stayed right across the street from Hoops, and we still didn't go there. It didn't work out. By the time I got to the hotel Friday night, I was tired. I wasn't one to eat. I was one to sleep. So, um, but we went and ate, and then we came back and hung out. I mean, we'd been already hanging around the stadium for a while because there was some time to kill between the 1A championship and the 2A championship. I had the Braves game on my computer up in the radio booth we were in. Um, but I don't know, just kind of just kind of sat there, went down and, talked to some of the St. Anthony people that were, waiting around too. And by the way, it was a fun atmosphere for that game when it finally got started because a lot of people still did hang around and they had a
Yeah.
really good time with it. But yeah, St. Anthony, just to kind of recap it, they beat Maroa Forsyth 8-5. They got out to a quick lead. They had a 2-0 lead after the first inning. They uh, they had a seven. They actually had a seven. Let's see here. They had a 7-0 lead after 2 innings.
Yeah.
Okay, scored 5 times in the second inning, and you're thinking, oh, they're just gonna beat the hell out of these guys like they won the semifinal game. They short gamed the team they played in the semis,
Right.
and and it got a little closer after that. Got to 7-2, and then they scored another run in the third inning, but then Maroa scored 2 more times in the bottom of the fourth to make it 8-4. Got another one in the sixth inning, in the whole top of the sixth, I should say. They were the visiting team, and St. Anthony never scored again. They got the Maroa's starting pitcher out of the game in the second inning with 2 outs,
Yeah.
and the kid that came in was a lefty who struggled a little bit at the beginning, but then they couldn't really they they were pretty aggressive and a lot of early count swings, balls put in play, and nothing real sharp. And when they did, it was caught. Like Brock Fearday hit a ball in the sixth inning to straightaway center field. If that's not a minor league ballpark with a 400-foot fence, I mean, like if he hits that ball at like Paul Smith Field, for instance, it was a home run.
Right.
If he hits it in Kinmundy, it's out by 40 feet. Okay, uh, and Brock Fearday had himself a hell of a tournament. And we can get to that in a minute, but they held on. Aiden Lauritzen started that championship game for St. Anthony, and he's sophomore. He had a little trouble with the walks. He walked a half a dozen guys or so, and he walked a bunch of people in that in the super sectional against
Super
Mount,
sectional too. Yeah.
and kind of was able. Mount Carmel just was their bats were fairly anemic, all told. Like they just didn't have a great lineup, so he could kind of work around those walks. But Maroa's bats were good enough that you put some guys on base, sooner or later they're going to make a pay for it. And I kind of thought I told Matt before the game started. I said I could see something like an 11-5 game here. Aiden gives up a little bit, maybe runs out of pitches, and St. Anthony, but St. Anthony hits enough to win, and that's ultimately how it played out. It wasn't quite as comfortable as I thought. But shout out to Joe Tegler. for coming into that game at the end and making some, gutty performance from him. He came out and was throwing his curveball and fastball counts.
Didn't
He
they have time run on the plate at the plate when he came in?
yeah. Well, no, I don't know if they had a tying run at the plate. He came in. Let's see.
In
He
the
came
sixth, didn't
in.
he?
He came into the sixth with 2 outs. He actually did give up an RBI single
Okay.
and left 2 guys on the bases.
Yeah,
But
so if he left two on, the tying run was at the plate, but ended up 8-5.
no, left. I'm sorry. I'm looking at this. Let's see. Yeah, I guess the tying run was at the plate. You're right. Got a pop fly to the first baseman. So yeah, you're right. But he did a fine job, and really he every ball put in play against him after that base hit was either a pop fly or a ground ball. Like
Yeah, he's been number 3 all year, hasn't he, in the rotation?
pretty
Pretty
much.
well.
They had Sam Link warming up too, I think, just in case. They've had those guys throw, but I mean
You need
Tegler,
options.
yeah, Tegler was the third, like in the city series, for instance. He was the guy who got the call. So
Well, and you got to be prepared because if he comes in and is deer in headlights,
yeah,
you don't, so, but that's good. It sounded like he did a good job. It sounded
yeah,
like he closed it out, struck
and
out the last batter.
he did. And Lauritzen just ran out of pitches. They brought him in to start the sixth, and it was kind of iffy whether he was going to be able to finish it just based on the way he'd been trending. And he managed to get a couple of outs, but again comes out with a couple of runners on base, and Tegler was able to do the job. But Brock was really good on the mound in the semifinals. Brock Fearday, and again he's just a junior, so these guys are all going to be back. Like
Well, all 3 of their pitchers are
all these
back.
pitchers that we've mentioned are going to be back. Yeah. Fearday, he only gave up 4 hits, walked a couple of guys, struck out 7. And the thing I've been saying about Brock all year long, and the thing that just keeps coming up is that like he's not a big strikeout pitcher, especially early in the games. Like he's not looking to strike people out. He's just
Right.
he's he's pitching to contact, and late in the game when it's time to shut the door, then all of a sudden that number goes from 3 or 4 to 7. Like he'll but he was awfully good, and the St. Anthony just hits the shit out of the baseball. I don't know how else to put it. Like, I wish I could say that. I honestly wish I could have said that just one time on the radio. Just be like, these guys just hit the shit out of the ball. I don't know what else to say. But that Wilmington team that they played in the semifinals came in 27-1, and the kid that they started in that game had an ERA of 0.5.
What are you giving up? Like 4 runs all season?
And his head was spinning after about 3 batters. You could tell that
I
he had
know.
just never encountered anything like that.
See, that's the same thing a couple years ago that T-Town did. I forget who they played, but this kid had like gaudy numbers and a gazillion strikeouts. And the Hartke kid and the Kenner kid hit like 4 doubles in the first 2 innings off of him. And it was just like, okay. And that, like, I texted you during that semifinal game, and I said, have they played? Has Wilmington played anybody?
And I don't know.
Pounded the ball.
I don't know if that's a they haven't played anybody thing or if that's a St. Anthony's just that good thing. I have a feeling that it's really
It's a combo.
bit of
But
call,
they
a little bit
also
of
Wilmington brought in their number 2, and they hit him.
sure. I mean, they chased that Wilmington starter after 3 innings, but they hit the next guy just as well. And I mean, okay, Saphir Day in that semifinal was just a gap machine. He was hitting doubles, he was hitting triples. Hit the ball hard in the championship game too. His first at bat
Hey,
after
doubled in
Lauritzen
the
had
gap
laid down.
there.
Yeah, Lauritzen had laid down a sacrifice bunt after Bo Adams got on with the leadoff single, and Fearday just gaps the first pitch he sees, and all of a sudden it's 1-0. Next at bat hits one into the gap. Now that one was played for a single. They played
Yeah,
it.
I saw the video. That center fielder kind of he came in and just,
Yeah,
yeah, that's one you just got to give up on and knock it down on the hop.
yeah, but so he had a couple of hits there, and like I said, he ended up 2 for 4 in that game. He popped out his second at bat, but his last at bat, I'm telling you, I mean that ball he hit was out of most fields that he plays on throughout the course of a season. Just it
Right.
so happened that he's on a professional ball diamond with a little bit different dimensions, which
Right.
probably helped with some of those gap shots too. But I mean, those are extra base hits pretty much anywhere, I think.
Sure.
Brady Hatton was awesome, in the championship game. His first at bat, he hits an RBI double with 2 outs. His second at bat, he comes in with the bases loaded, 2 outs and doubles all 3 runs in.
Yeah.
Um, he was he's gonna be back. I mean, there's a couple of
Well, they
key.
lose what? Their catcher, their shortstop, and their center fielder?
Yeah. I mean, those are important guys. Don't get me wrong, but
Sure. I
Bo
understand.
Adams,
But
Bo
you've got
Adams
6 starters back.
Yeah, Bo Adams is one of the best high school center fielders I've ever seen. I mean, maybe the best. If you just watch him and when you're in Peoria and you're sitting up a little bit, you get a pretty good like bird's eye view
Perspective,
of
yeah.
everything. And you really get a good look at the kind of jumps and reads that Bo gets in center field. He caught a couple of balls this weekend that a lot of kids don't. Okay.
Right.
But he hits well at the top of the lineup. He's most importantly when he gets on, he's very fast.
I mean, there's big shoes to fill, but
Yeah,
you've only got to fill 3 sets of shoes.
sure.
Plus, you got your 3 top pitchers back.
Yeah, I just think that they are your most important positions defensively. So there's some work to do because Max Koenig's turned himself into a really good shortstop. Okay.
Yeah, and Repke's very good behind the plate.
Oh,
Connor does a very good job back there.
Repke's a stud behind the plate, and he
Yeah.
can. By the
So, I
way,
mean, it's
hit,
voids. However, that offense is still there.
Oh yeah, I mean they're still going to hit because they're still going to have Haddon, they're still going to have Fearday, they're still going to have Loritzen. Like Will Fearday, he hit 7th for this team, but he puts some good swings on the ball. Henry
Him and Brent both do.
Henry Brent's the 8 hitter, and he puts good swings on it.
Well, here's the thing. I know he didn't have the big numbers this year because he didn't get to play as much as he did last year. But you had Ryan Schmidt last year, who's now your courtesy runner, who swung a big bat for him last year.
Yeah, that was
just lost, didn't get a chance to. I mean, the Henry Brents of the world and the and who I'm trying to think who the other kid, the Link kid, pretty much took his spot.
Yeah, they're good outfielders. I mean, Henry Brent has got a cannon in right field too. He doesn't.
Well, and I noticed in the videos, the outfield was wet because he wasn't sure-footed a couple times fielding balls.
He had one throw to second base where his feet came out from underneath him, and he still made a good throw, but it was a little concerning. Bo Adams, by the way, threw somebody out at the plate this weekend. The thing is, they don't get there a lot of opportunities to show that off because like when Brock Fearday's pitching, how many hits are there even? How many times do you have to throw somebody out the plate? And Loritzen, for that matter. I mean, it's not like Loritzen didn't have good numbers this season. His last couple of games, he struggled with the walks. There was a lot of traffic on the bases. But
I read a quote where he said his off-speed stuff was terrible yesterday. So
yeah, I think his dad was telling me that he didn't feel real comfortable on the mound down at Carbondale either. But that's.
Did he get started his warm-ups at all before the rain?
No, they hadn't really. They had been playing a little catch.
So they hadn't, in essence, started throwing. They were just playing catch.
Not in earnest, as far as I could tell. They had tried a couple times. It kept raining for a minute, and they'd go back to the dugout, and then it'd stop, and they'd go back. Like it was very like, but that rain was just like, well, we'll just wait for it to pass. It's not that big a deal. And then when the bigger shower finally came, that's when you realized you were going to have problems. But yeah, boy, it was kind of fitting. I thought I didn't realize it at the time, but then my Facebook memories told me that it was June 2nd of 2012 when St. Anthony won the state championship in 1A. And I knew because my father-in-law, Kenny Miller, was the coach then, and I had pictures of it. So it's kind of funny that that game got pushed back so far that it finished on June 2nd. And so
12 years later, yeah.
12
so
years
St. Anthony's got now 2 state titles in baseball. North Clay's got 1. South Central's got 1. So there's 4 championships in the conference. You've got a second now from Altamont.
Mm-hmm. And don't forget that T-Town won a couple in 10 and 11 before they had left
When
the
they were still in the conference, yes. So you've probably 2, 4, yeah, in the last 13 years, 14 years, you've got at least 6 championships out of one conference.
You do. Okay, so going back, the last time the NTC didn't at least have a super sectional appearance was 2009. Since
Okay.
then, there's been an NTC team at least a win away from state tournament play, and they honestly Altamont's the only one that made it and didn't go on to win a championship actually. So
Okay.
if my figuring and my memory is
When they actually got to state, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
yeah, those
Because
other
T-Town
times.
was out of the conference when they got
Mhm.
third place.
Yeah,
Okay.
they had left
They
conference.
won another one, but they also have a third.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
like
Okay. Well, so at what point, because there's been grumblings before about fall season, and you know, Whitey, all these conspiracy coaches are looking at this saying that's an unfair advantage. And to be
I
honest,
will
it probably is.
I will just say that I happen to be a fly on the wall of a conversation between a person with IHSA who will remain nameless and a coach who was not participating in the state tournament this year. That we kind of jokingly had that conversation. You know, like well, these NTC schools, they get that fall season, but then they were joking because then they said, fall baseball or not, like, yes, it definitely helps, but like
Right.
good is
And they
good.
do it, they all do it right because they build depth in a pitching staff in the fall and get a lot of kids time. And they
It,
kind of, it's not Brock Faraday every 4 days in the fall.
no, it's not.
So they do things to develop their team, and then, like I said, they come back in the spring, and I mean, just think about it. They got to beat the hell out of each other. All, you
Yeah.
know,
The gist of that conversation, if I was kind of reading it right, and who knows that I didn't ask anyone to clarify, but one of these people, like I said, was an IHSA person who at least has some influence, and it sounded like if we're joking about it, we're not like seriously talking about putting a stop to it. I don't. I you know what, like,
it was brought up in 10,000, whenever 2010, when T Town beat Harrisburg, the number one ranked team in the frickin' country, and with a team batting average of 480, and Derek Thompson almost shut them out, and that's all they did. They screamed bloody murder. It was unfair, and
well, guess
they,
what,
they had momentum.
Derek Thompson got drafted, for God's sake. Like, you think that Derek Thompson was just good because he got to throw a couple extra times in September? Like,
I
what are
know,
we
but
talking
you know
about?
how coaches are,
That's
especially when they're the anointed ones who are supposed to win it all, and then they don't.
yeah. Well, if they want to make that stink, I guess that's their prerogative. But
But
that's
you will see bitching about it. Let's just put it that way.
well, I'm gonna enjoy it because
Oh, it's tremendous, and like I said, there's talent in the area, and and it's just not. I mean, you look at it. I mean, North Clay's got a pretty young group coming.
they'll
St. Anthony's going to have most of their team back.
yeah.
South Central's got a good core coming.
St. Anthony's going to make noise for the simple fact that, like, will they put up as ungodly offensive numbers next year as they did this year? Time will tell, but it's going to be hard to do. But the recipe for a deep run is to have a couple of really good starters, and they're going to have that. They're
Here's my prediction right now. So just put this on tape and write this in your calendar.
okay.
Next year's sectional championship game will be T-Town and St. Anthony again, because they both have a very good young core.
Yeah.
Justin Fleener had a lot of very good sophomores this year, and they will meet again in a sectional
Well,
final.
I think as it turns out, Mike, I think the state title game was probably played on a Saturday in Greenville. You know what I'm saying? That's how I think T-Town, with the pitching that they had and a good enough lineup, I think T-Town could have won that 2A tournament if they had been the one to come out of that game. I think
My only concern there is if they would have had enough offense to overpower people.
I think so. I mean,
They do at times.
maybe I'm a little slanted toward the shoes and especially toward Coach Fleener, but I think they could have done it too. I really do. But
I wouldn't doubt it a bit.
Altamont, nothing to hang their heads about. They didn't win the state championship game. It was really close for a while. They were struggling.
Get beat 1-0. What, into the sixth?
Yeah, that was. Let's see. Ottawa Marquette scored 4 times in the 6th inning. That's right.
And really, I was listening to your broadcast. Altamont should have been out of the inning.
Should have been out of the inning. It was an unfortunate thing for Dylan Elam that he didn't bring that pop fly in. It was in the air for a long time, but he was there. It was in his glove, and then it wasn't. And I told Matt after that inning ended, I said, I almost hope if they don't make a big comeback, they either need to make the big comeback or they need to get shut out, because I almost feel better about it for Elam if they got shut out and he didn't feel like he was
right. Oh, we got beat 4-0, or 5-0. We still didn't score. No, I agree. And he started the game on the hill, didn't he?
No, he pitched the semifinals.
He pitched in the semis. Okay.
Abe Melville pitched the
okay. All right. I knew Elam pitched one. Now, when they won that semifinal game, and I saw video of that with the Davis kid stealing third and then the ball getting away, it wasn't a bad throw by the catcher.
IHSA's official box score has a throwing error, and that's bullshit. Okay, that was a good throw.
And yes, I watched the video. Third baseman tried to do a quick tag and pulled it down. And
listen, it's high school baseball, so I don't want to rag on a kid too much. But the GCMS third baseman he just had a tough day. He didn't really make a clean play all day long, and that was just the kind of the straw that broke the camel's back right there. But it wasn't a bad throw. But my understanding,
he was safe. He was going to be safe.
Davis had that base stolen, and my understanding is that he went on his own. Like Coach Witt, Alan Witt, is the Altamont coach, and obviously Matt Robinson knows him pretty well.
Yeah.
and he said that for the most part, Alan gives those kids free reign to make their own decisions. And he made
if they feel, but they know you got to get it. And I saw the video, and it looked like he had a great jump.
And he's not the fastest kid, but apparently he said, I had that pitcher timed up. I had him figured out. I knew he had fallen into a routine.
Oh, and he had a great jump.
Yeah. Well, and that's baseball, baby. Like that if the pitcher starts looking back and doesn't change up his
1,001, 1,002, and then goes to the plate, man, it.
And I have, you gotta, as a pitcher, a varsity pitcher, especially for a team that makes it to the state tournament, you gotta be a little better than that. You can't just hold the ball the same amount of time every time and then come to the plate, or you are going to end up getting run on like that.
Now, this green light you speak of, Larry Meisenheimer never gave me that in high school, so I don't even know what that is.
Yeah, well, maybe
late in the game when I got on, there usually was a runner for me, which, I was like, at least put somebody in faster than me, for God's sakes.
When GCMS was playing in the third place game, they were down 4-0 late, and they brought a kid off the bench who had not but a handful of plate appearances all season long, and he was a pretty stocky kid, not a speed demon. He got a base hit, and then he was really feeling himself. He was taking quite the lead that I think in a different situation the pitcher would have gone and gotten him, but I think they were just kind of letting him have his fun because there were a couple outs and the game was almost over.
Now, was it my imagination? Did St. Anthony in the tournament get 3 runners picked off second base?
That
Wilmington got him twice, and didn't GCM or
Maroa Forsyth? Yeah,
Maroa Forsyth got him once, picked off.
I will tell you that the team that St. Anthony played in the semifinals, Wilmington, I watched them run the same pickoff play and get a guy in the third place game too. They've got it really. They're not doing anything special. It's not like some trick play that they're doing. They just have a
Right.
very good. Uh, they've got a really good chemistry between their pitcher and their shortstop. The timing
Okay.
is good, and they made it happen. But yeah, that was you know. It was a thing for sure. It happened a couple of times with Bulldogs there, and then yeah, Merle Forsyth got him once. Um, what do I want to say? Altamont, you mentioned the way that the semifinal game ended. The super sectional game ended with a bases loaded walk.
Bases loaded
So
walk. Yeah.
with a kid that again had to come in out of the outfield and pitch because a starter ran out of pitches. So that's just like two kids in two games at Altamont. I felt really bad for a kid on the other team for the way the game ended because they're gonna the kid who walked, the kid who was pitching, obviously he was a wreck afterwards. You could just tell. And that third baseman for
So was
G
Schultz his first batter? The walk he gave up was his first batter he faced in that super?
I'm looking back here. He came in. No, so he came in. He came in and actually he came in and committed an error. There were two outs, and he committed an error to load the bases. Okay, but that was Clayton Arnold, and then Eli Miller comes up.
I
Schultz
thought
scored the
Schultz was the
run.
batter that walked. He scored the run. Okay.
Schultz
I thought Schultz was the one who walked. I'm sorry.
Actually, Schultz didn't score the run. He got on base. He walked with one out to start the inning, and then Justin Magalitz came in and pinch ran for him. And
Okay.
Magalitz is the one who ultimately scored the run.
Okay.
But it was Eli Miller who drew the walk on a 3-2 pitch, by the way,
Yeah.
with two outs.
Yeah.
But that was after an error to load the bases, and the error was on the pitcher. So
Okay.
he had a he
Tough inning.
yeah, not one that he's going to want to think about too much.
Yeah.
Altamont, you got to take a second just to talk about the fact that they had like a dozen seniors on their team this year, and that's after having 8 or 9 graduate last year.
Yeah, they had a big senior class last year too. Because
So
wasn't last year supposed to be their big year with these two classes together?
right, and they ran into St. Anthony in the regional final in a game that went
Yeah.
extras, and eventually, I mean, you got every bit as much faith that if Altamont had come out of that game, they'd have been playing in a super last year.
Sure. Sure.
But it didn't work out. Yeah, it's kind of funny, I mean, I think, yeah, you're right. I think probably the talk would have going into last season. I think talk would have been, this is the year we need to do it. This is the group.
Right.
Things worked out for them to get there this year, and I'm really happy for them. It's a good sports community. They showed up really well, filled the stadium as much as you can fill that. You can't fill that stadium, but they had a good presence there. Um, that's the one thing about making it to state is that like it's such a big park that it feels like nobody's there, even when a lot of
Right.
people are there.
Right.
But it's cool to get to play on a professional stadium,
Well, I've seen years up there when you had to find the shade to set in because it was so dang hot.
yeah, that wasn't a problem this year, but starting at 10:07 and having your last pitch come at 12:24 a.m.
Yeah.
was a little bit of I feel like though, like, and I kept telling Matt this because Matt wasn't thrilled with how that all played out, having to sit around and wait and having a late night, and who was happy about it.
Right.
But I kept telling him, think about those boys, like they were already going to remember this forever, but now they're going to remember, like they were out there, playing hacky sack or watching they had Just Dance up on the screen, like kids were dancing along with it, trying to match the moves. Like, it's an experience that most kids don't get. It wasn't just run of the mill state tournament experience, and plus, hey, they won, which is the real icing on the cake.
Yeah, that trophy in the Inlet Center, it's not going to say, "Oh, we won at midnight." It says state champ, so that's
and I mean, Tony Craig, by the way, haven't even mentioned him yet, but he's such a good guy and excellent coach, obviously. But that team just plays ball so well. The instincts are phenomenal. They grind out the plate appearances. They never strike out. They just don't. Like they make a pitcher work so hard. Uh,
Yeah,
they're not just up there like just bashing the ball. They're putting together quality at bats up and down the lineup. Even their weaker hitters are, they'd be a three hitter for most high school teams around here.
sure.
You
No,
look at
you're right.
you look at their 6, 7, 8, and 9 spots. Those are guys that would be middle of the order types for a lot of teams, if for no other reason than they just know how to like work an at bat and find their way on base. And so, I know that Tony probably doesn't get all the credit for that, but he certainly cultivates it with his team and the base running. Like he welcomes the aggressiveness, and they'll take the extra base. They read plays so well on the bases, taking that extra base and keeping the pressure on a pitcher. Just
Yeah.
I don't know. They're good. They're fun to
Pretty good
watch.
team. Well, it's well run, and again, Tony does a very good job. It's just, you know, Altamont had how many losses this spring? 7,
They ended up with 10 actually.
10. So how many of those
31
were
and
T-Town? How
31
many
and
of
10.
those 10 were T-Town and St. Anthony?
Well, I know St. Anthony was one of them because Cade Melville pitched a great game against St. Anthony, and it came down to
Did
the
they
wire.
only play once this spring?
I could answer this question like definitively if we just let me fire up the Google machine real quick, because their whole record was on their page.
Right, on the program.
Yep. So Altamont this year, their losses were to Sullivan and Carlisle the first two games of the season, and then to Effingham High School. They were 2-3 at that point, and then they lost 3-2 to St. Anthony on March 27th. So by March 27th, less than 2 weeks into the year, they had lost four of those games. They were 4-4.
Yeah. Yep.
But then they won six in a row. They didn't lose again until they lost to Cuba.
Okay.
Uh, then they won 5 more straight. Then they lost to Charleston. They lost to Father McGivney, which
Yeah.
was one of
Who
the
was supposed to be there?
yeah. Father McGivney was supposed to be there. That's one of the only teams that beat St. Anthony this year in a
Yeah.
crazy game. They lost to Greenville and they lost to Salem. Salem was their last loss on May 9th.
Okay.
And then so yeah, a lot of the losses were to bigger
Good clubs.
yeah, bigger schools, 2A at least. And they well, Allen won't turn down anybody on that schedule. He'll play
Oh,
anybody.
yeah. Well, that's how you get better.
Yeah. I mean, I think we have this conversation pretty much every other time we record this show, but that's such a big part of it. You can chase the 20-25 win seasons if you want, but like, playing every team in the Egyptian Illini conference, doesn't necessarily make you better.
No.
It gets you a few more wins, but it doesn't necessarily
Right.
make you any better.
No, I agree with you.
No, sorry to just throw that one out there, but that's the first one that
Well,
came.
no, that's exactly what it is, though. And you see that in our sports here, where people are playing. It's just like, look at your basketball schedules. Look at hell, St. Anthony's golf schedule. Our golf schedule at T-Town now. We play a lot of invitationals against good
Mhm.
schools because we want to go be pushed and have to play good.
Ultimately, once the regional starts, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter what your record is.
I mean, it might affect your seating and your matchups a little bit, but not that much. Not enough for it.
No.
Not enough to say, hey, we need to really stack up the wins so we get a good seed in our sectional. Like
Right.
it's the reward's not there for it.
No.
You might as
Still
well
got
just
to beat the same people to go where you want to go. So
you might as well just test yourself and reap the rewards later. And plus, like a lot of these kids too, it's not just about the high school schedule they play either. I mean, they go play ball, on their own
Mhm.
time to get better, and that is becoming more and more necessary to be a a quality varsity player. It didn't used to be that way, but it's more and more now. Like you can't just show up, especially if you're at a school that only plays it in the spring. Like you can't just show up on the first day of spring practice every year and
No, no,
expect to be a
you're
good.
exactly right. They don't work that way anymore.
Um, and even when I was in high school, you still played. You found a travel team to play on in the summer, but it was a lot less intense. You might play Legion ball. I played
Right.
some Legion ball, but it's a different animal now. And
Oh yeah,
and you look at those kids; they're just so much better ball players now.
they
Like
are.
it,
They're mechanical. They're more mechanical with their approach. I talk about kids having good at bats and not giving up at bats and doing this. I can remember hell, we were see it, hit it, man. People always say, "Oh, could you tell the spin?" Well, I knew if a guy threw a lot of curveballs, I was up there probably looking for a curveball a lot of times. But no, you saw it and you hit it.
I mean, I would face people in varsity games that couldn't even throw a curveball. Like they just weren't
Mm-hmm.
good enough. They were just
Right.
up there hoping to throw strikes. And
Yeah.
boy, if you went into a game against St. Anthony and just threw fastballs, they would they would hang 15 runs on you in the first inning. Okay,
Yeah.
like they just would.
Yeah.
There's nobody
They
who
did.
throws hard enough for it to matter.
Right.
Uh, we were gonna try to keep this quick. One thing I just, and this has nothing to do with the delay because the delay really couldn't be helped. The weather kind of came out of nowhere last night, and I don't think there was a whole lot they could have done to have kept that field from getting wet and having to take some time to get it ready to go. But like I will say that I've been going to the state baseball tournament for a long time now. Like I mean, I was there when T Town won it in 2010, and
Right.
it's a nice place to go. Dozer Park in Peoria is to see a game, but like just the whole experience. And this
Is
is not just
getting watered down and more watered down. And
right,
like you
and
said,
not
the
just for
communication, you said your communication was terrible. Nobody, you had
it was
Greg Faraday, St. Anthony High School principal, asking you guys what was going on.
yeah,
Shit,
and
not to ask you or Matt. You don't even know what you're having for lunch. So why would you ask you to?
yeah. So, and that's to illustrate that it wasn't just it's not just my experience there as a media member. It's for the schools that are participating too. And without getting into specifics or throwing anybody under the bus, I mean, some things
You
were
got to do a better
scripted.
job of communicate, communicate, communicate.
Yeah, some things
And I
were
did see
scripted.
video of or still pictures. It looked like personnel from both schools helping rake the diamond, or was I seeing things?
Well, I don't. I didn't. That might have been after we left to go get something to eat, but there were not. There weren't a lot of people there to work on the diamond. I think because maybe partially because they had just thought, oh, we're in the clear, and then this rain kind of
Yeah,
popped up on them. But just yeah, it just gets a little bit worse every year. In all aspects of it, I think, and that's from the media perspective and from talking to coaches from year to year too. So I wish that wasn't the case. It's not just baseball. It's all
that's
sports.
why I've heard that from other events that it's just a little. State basketball tournament a couple years ago, we barely got in time inside the seat to actually see the starting lineup.
Yeah,
Well, we can't let you in yet. Why?
yeah, I just feel like not a lot of attention's being paid to logistical type of things. I get that like
Right.
staffing and the stuff gets harder and harder because the money's probably getting tighter and you can't have as
Yeah, when
many people there.
grandma and grandpa are sitting down, they get a popcorn and a drink and they go sit down in time to see the starting lineups.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
absurd.
Yeah.
That's
I mean,
absurd. When
that
you're
is
all out there waiting, well, we can't open the doors until so many minutes before. Well, you
right.
can't get these people in.
It just feels like there's nobody that's hashing out the details ahead of time. Uh,
No common sense.
and so that could be better. And I'm not saying that it's like it was some sort of disaster because it's not. They've been doing it too long for it to just completely fall apart. There's certain things that just happen every year, and people know how to make it work. But I
And
will,
hey, the rain, there was nothing you could do about it, like you said.
yeah, yeah.
However, you can do a better job of communicating what's going on
Mhm.
after the
Yeah,
fact.
it shouldn't probably shouldn't take until 8:40, to put something on the website about like, what the plan is as
Well,
far as.
before you put it on the website, you make sure the two schools know. You make sure, hey, there's only 4 media up in Media Row. If that, you make sure they know.
Yeah. But obviously a little bit selfishly, there's the thumbs up again. I have no idea why that shows up.
I think you're doing that as self promotion, Whitey.
You can see you could see at least one of my hands
Yeah,
when I'm going
yeah,
on.
I
So,
understand.
but
All right, well, let's put a bow on
yeah,
this. We probably aren't going to do much over the summer
no,
unless the Cardinals make a great run and get back involved in things.
they have been playing better.
They have been, but then they went to Philadelphia.
Yeah, well, the Phillies are just good, man. I
They
mean,
are good.
they're making.
I'm getting ready to fix a steak for the Hall of Famer, so
Yeah. Well, tell them I said hi.
I will do that. And he was
Tell,
trying to listen to you last night too, and I
probably
think
got a
he
little.
kept waking up, going to sleep, waking up.
I know my dad.
So who drove home? Did you have tag team to drive?
We did not. I told Matt, like, I'm perfectly willing to drive some, but he said, I'm actually okay. I feel pretty good about it. And he made good time, I'll just say, without like
Good.
getting
Well,
into
the one year Greg and I had to go to Springfield for the Hart Super Sectional game
Mhm.
or the Hart Sectional game and then go to state. I had to about Tuscola. I said, hey, Greg, I'm in. You're out. Sit down. And we didn't get to Arcola and he was sound asleep. So
Yeah,
probably
no,
a pretty good call.
I've had that conversation with Greg a time or two because especially during the football season, there'll be times where we have a long trip
Yeah.
and he's been up since what, like 4 o'clock in
Yeah.
the morning or
Oh, I
something.
know.
So yeah, but luckily we got a decent night's sleep the night before. We stayed Friday night in Peoria. Um, and no, we it's 3 o'clock when he dropped me off, or 10 after 3 when he dropped me off in Neoga.
Okay.
I stayed awake on the drive home just to talk
I
to him.
heard he emceed the Altamont Welcome Home.
He did. They asked him, and then let's see, were we on our way to Peoria or were we? Yeah, we were on our way to Peoria, and he had gotten the call from Kevin Palmer asking if he'd do it for St. Anthony, and he said, "Well, I've already agreed to
Yeah.
be at
They
Altamont."
didn't ask you though.
No, they didn't. They asked Greg Sapp.
Yeah.
It kind of let me know where I stand.
Yeah. Well, that's all right. One day, Whitey. One
You want to
day.
know something? I don't know how good at that I would be anyway, so it's probably better. Plus, I had grass to cut today, and
There
uh,
you go.
and I'm tired. I didn't sleep
Ready
in.
to go to bed. All right, I'm gonna go fix steak for later, and I may watch the Cardinals, but I don't know if I'll get to see the whole game.
Well, we'll see. But
We may try to get together. You and I are going to talk afterwards about doing at least one more show
yeah, we'll figure
here
it out.
soon, but we'll figure it out.
All right. Well, thanks for everybody for following us all school year
Hey,
long.
thanks for talking me to sleep last night. You were like white noise.
Yeah,
You and Matt were like until
literally,
something happened and you did that Peter Brady and you got loud for a second and your voice cracked and then I'd wake up.
literally white noise, right?
Yeah, it
By the
was
way, did you
literally.
catch that GCMS coach's name was Dustin White?
Yeah, I know. That's why you got beat.
Somebody told me, somebody from St. Anthony told me that they saw him on TV. They're like, "You're more handsome than he is," and I said, "Well,
Ah,
he
well,
must be pretty gnarly looking then."
must be one of your in-laws.
All right, yeah. Well, we'll let people know what our plans are, but we appreciate everyone following us throughout the school year, especially the basketball season when we were really active, and as far as I know, we plan to keep this up. So we
Yeah,
will.
we've been
We'll
fired yet.
yeah, we'll get together a time or two during the off season and see where that takes us. But Mike,
Will do.
go cook your steak. I'm gonna have some dinner myself, and
All right.
we'll talk later.
Sounds good.
All right, see ya.
See you, Whitey.